Hey everybody, it's Kat with Living Solo, Living Well, and today I had a question for you. And the question is, how long has it been since you took a trip down memory lane? So I thought I would do a video about memories like from my childhood. And the reason this popped into my head is I was in a group text. I have four sisters, and so we were in a group text, and they brought up something, and then about our grandparents, a memory about our grandparents on my mother's side. And so I remember back when I was little and we'd go to visit my grandparents in Indianapolis, we would get a stick of tea berry gum from my granddad or my grandfather. And that was one of the best memories I have. That is one of the best memories that I have. I loved the flavor of it. It was like clove and cinnamon. And years later, so this would have been probably in the 2000s maybe, or 1999, I had gone to Gatlinburg, Tennessee with a friend, and I was looking for tea berry gum. And there was a little shop in town that had it, so I bought a couple of packs. And the first piece I stuck in my mouth was just like an explosion of memories. And it brought back a ton of memories. We were at my grandparents' house. We were out in the backyard. I guess there's an alley that ran back there. So I just remember being with my grandpa out back, hanging out. So it was just so much fun, and it was really neat. The gum is what brings back those memories. So another memory while I was there at my grandparents was every now and then one or two of us girls would get to spend the night with my grandparents. And whoever did, she would give us, I think she sold Avon. So she would give us little tiny samples of the lipstick that were, the little tiny lipsticks. And we had a lot of perfumes, a lot of other kinds of makeup that we got to try. So it was almost like that was our own personal fun time, only a couple of us at a time, not all five of us. The age range of all five of us, we're all within an 8-year span. So when we were little, the youngest two, there were the three older ones and the two younger ones. And so the three of us older ones usually did things together. The two younger ones did things together. So anyway, that was one of my favorite memories, was the tea berry gum and spending the night with my grandparents. I grew up in Fishers, Indiana, and these are not in any order, but one of the other memories I have it just brings back a lot of joy. We had a fish fry in our town, and so they had little street vendors or carnival type games. And I remember they had these rings that you'd toss in, and they had these long canes or long sticks that were straight. And they had a little handle at the end that you'd hold on to. And you'd throw the round ring in and try to get it on one of those. And if you got it, you won that stick. So I remember that, and I remember the smell of the fish fry. A lot of different other carnival type games. And we would walk from our house, which was probably, best guess, maybe 5 blocks from town. So we walked all the time. We walked to school, we walked everywhere, we walked to the store. We just had such a great time. So the fish fry in Fishers, Indiana, was one of my fondest memories. We were allowed to walk to the fish fry in the dark, and we were young, but we could walk by ourselves, or we could walk with our other sisters or friends, because we had a lot of friends in town. And we didn't have to worry at that time about being alone at night, or two young girls walking in the dark to town. We didn't have the issues that we have now. And anyway, that's one of my fondest memories. I just loved it. And another memory kind of relating to that was the freedom. My mother worked, my dad worked, and so we would ride our bikes wherever. We would just ride. We lived in we lived in Fishers, and it was just a really small rural town. We had one or two gas stations and then one little grocery store. And I remember we'd ride our bikes for hours and hours. We had so much fun. We'd ride over the overpasses. That was a little difficult because it was a little uphill on either end, going up on either end. And, we just enjoyed it so much. I remember once, I couldn't tell you how many miles I had ridden, but when I had stopped my bike to get off of it to take a break, I could hardly stand up. And it was just so much fun. It probably wasn't at that moment, but I remember back, and just the freedom we had to do that was just wonderful. And I carried over cycling into my adult life. So I guess I trained for it then. So I would go, many years ago as an adult, I would do a lot of cycling, and I would go anywhere from 40 to 50 miles. I'd ride around town in the neighborhoods, and it would get up to 40 and 50 miles. And I enjoyed it so much. There were several hills if I went a certain route, and they were boogers. It was just difficult. But I had fun, and I ingrained the riding in me when I was young, and I carried it over into my adult life. So another fond memory I have is the street that we lived on. We were the third house from the end, and the road ran along the interstate. So this road, we called it the access road because it cut over beside the interstate, but over to another road. And my good friend Linda lived at the end, in the house at the end. We were a third house. She was the first house right on the end. And we would get together. I went to school with her. We would get together. Beyond her house, there were a couple of huge, I don't know if they were maple trees, but we would go down to the second one furthest away from her house, and we'd just sit under the tree, and we'd have like a girls' day. We were probably maybe late elementary, maybe 4th and 5th grade, or 5th and 6th. And, we never thought anything of it, sitting out there, young girls by ourselves, cars going by, interstate traffic going by. So they had some semis and other vehicles, but we had the most fun. It was, we just had freedom in our childhood. So enjoyed that immensely. And then another fond memory I have is when I was probably 14 or 15, whatever the earliest working age could be up in Indiana. My older sister and I both got on with this farming company to detassel corn. And so the very first day, we're all in the back of the truck, literally in the back of a pickup, and we get to the destination. So we get out in the field, and we're told how to do it. And when it came time to do it, I was too short. I'm reaching way up here, and it was very difficult. So I lasted one day, not even a whole day. I lasted part of a day, and I had to be taken back to my home or to wherever the pickup point was. And so the next year I tried it again with my sister, I'm the second. And same thing. I'm 5'2". I used to be 5'3", but that's just too short. You cannot detassel corn unless it's just a few stalks that are short. But I really wanted to do that. I really wanted to be involved in that, and I wasn't able to do that because of my height or lack of height. So another fond memory I have is laying on the phone. You know how we had the corded phones growing up, and we had one phone and 5 girls, 7 in our family. So we would take turns, obviously us older ones, if we had a boyfriend, and we could talk on the phone for, a certain amount of time, but we would stretch that cord around, and we'd go down the hall, and we'd lay on the floor with our feet up on the wall, our legs up on the wall, just laying there talking to either the boyfriend or the friend. And we used to get in trouble a lot for staying on the phone too long, but we just, that was our thing, and we had to respect the time, because we had other sisters that needed to use the phone and talk to their friends. So that was really neat. And this is probably something really silly, but we had a stereo when stereos had come out, and we had it sitting on a table. So we'd put the headphones on, and we would crank the music up, and we would lay down underneath the table and listen to our favorite songs. And I remember on spring break, I enjoyed doing that a lot on spring break because we had the time. We didn't have homework. We didn't have to be at school. We we could just enjoy ourselves and do whatever we wanted besides household chores. And I just remember enjoying that. There was something, I don't know, I want to say magical, but I don't know if that's the right word, but I enjoyed it so, so much. Another fond memory I have is I had a friend named Tracy, and was it Tracy, or I can't remember if it was Tracy or another friend that had a horse. And so we got to take turns riding the horse with no adult supervision, which was interesting. And when it was my turn, I got bucked off into a mud puddle, and she stood there laughing and laughing. And it wasn't a bad fall at all. It was just like kind of dumped me into the mud puddle. And so that was funny, but not funny at the time. But looking back, it is. Ironically enough, with this same friend, I used to sew a lot as a kid. I was taught to sew. I took it in home ec. My mom taught me. I did a lot of sewing. I made doll clothes, Barbie clothes, and I made a jumper as a project in one of my in the home ec class. And one of the things that I think I taught this to my friend, we would take a needle and thread, and we would thread it through the uppermost layer of our skin on the palm of our hand. And I know that's ridiculous. In fact, I think that the dad of this girl, had asked, who told you to do that? And I don't think she ratted me out, but we always had fun with that. We would, stitch a little line of thread in our hand. I don't know why that was fun, but it was just really weird. And we enjoyed it. So another thing, as when we were kids, we would go camping a lot, and we would go to, they were the KOA campgrounds. KOA or KOA, I don't know what that stood for, but KOA campgrounds. And we would camp out whenever we'd go on vacation or something, we'd camp out at the KOA campgrounds. So we also camped out in our backyard in a tent. And I can, to this day, I can smell the smell of the canvas tent. And I remember one night we had our house, we had the front yard, the backyard, and then we had the back 80, which ran along the interstate. When they ran the interstate through town, they took part of that back 80. So anyway, we would be camping way out there in the back 80, and during rainstorms, and you can just smell the canvas smell from the tent. And I still have that memory to this day. So the camping was really, I enjoyed it a lot. I don't think I would now. I might like glamping better, where I can have at least access to a restroom and shower. So maybe camping, but then having a place where we could go and shower indoors. And another fond memory that I have, I was in band and I played the clarinet. So we went to band camp one year, and I remember all the beds were really lined up together, like you had to crawl over them to get to your bed. And so I remember, I think I had a nightmare or a dream, and I was crawling over the beds. They had told me this the next morning. So I apparently was crawling along the beds in my sleep. And anyway, but we had a lot of fun. Band camp was a whole lot of fun. We got into a lot of trouble, innocent trouble, but it was fun nonetheless. And anyway, so probably the very fondest of all of these that I've mentioned is the tea berry gum memory, because the taste of that, certain smells or sounds or words can bring back memories, a flood of memories. And that's probably the best memory out of all of these. And then another thing I was thinking about, because I'd heard somebody say they were talking about as a kid their earliest memory. So I was trying to think back, and I do remember before kindergarten, I was one of the three older ones. At that time, we were just the only three, and before the two little ones came along. And my mom had a professional photo made of the three of us, the oldest, me, and the next one. And we were sitting on a TV console. I think they came out to our house, and we were sitting on this console, and we were all lined up, like straddling each other. I was here, I had a sister nested in front of me, and another one or my oldest behind me, then the youngest. And I remember the day that my mom went to pick that picture up, and we went somewhere in town. We were walking on the sidewalk, and the picture was in a frame with a piece of glass, and I remember it dropped and cracked. And so I actually have that. When my mom passed about 5 years ago, my sisters had sent me some of her things, and this is one of the things they sent me. So I've got that picture sitting on a bookshelf, and it still has the crack in the glass. And I can't bring myself to replace it. So it's always going to have that crack as long as I have it. So anyway, that was probably the youngest that I remember anything or have any memory of. And a little bit after that, when I started kindergarten, the very first day I do remember, because there was another girl, I think her name was Kathy Salyer, if I recall correctly. And as I think my mom was walking me in along the sidewalk to school. And I remember seeing her with her mother, and she had been in tears. So I just remember thinking, oh, she's so sad. And so that is, those two are my earliest memories. I don't recall anything before that photo of the three of us. And I believe we were maybe 5, 3, and 2. So I would have been 3 in that photo. And so the earliest memory I have is when I was 3 years old. And then the next one would have been 5, or right around that age for kindergarten. So anyway, I thought I'd just take y'all down my trip down memory lane, and just kind of jog your memory too, and see what kind of fond memories or exciting or the most memorable things you recall from when you were a child. And what's your earliest memory? Were you really young, or do you recall anything from your younger days, like really, really young? And be sure to post them in the comments below. And if you've gotten any interesting insight, or if this has helped you kind of tap into those memories from when you were little, leave a like, or please subscribe. And I hope that you guys have a great day and enjoy reminiscing with those memories. I'll see you the next time.